if you're eating healthy, but you're still not shifting that body fat, or you may be training really hard and your body's not responding, you're not seeing results. Or it could even be your energy. You get an energy crash after lunch, or you're relying on caffeine to get you through the day just to survive the day. Willpower is not going to fix these things, my friend. You're delusional if you think willpower is going to fix that. The likelihood is, my friend, right, is your metabolism is not firing the way it should. It's simply not working. It could be broken. And I want to break down the concept today of metabolic health. It's actually really simple, my friend, what metabolic health is. It's how efficiently your body converts food into usable energy. Give you an example, right? People look at me. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I got this vest on and I'm pretty jacked, right? Now, I know that sounds kind of big-headed, but I've got a lot of muscle mass. When people look at me, they assume that I'm a bodybuilder. Oh, he's a bodybuilder. He poses for pictures. He likes to be shredded. It's all about biceps. Actually, it's not. The way I look now is a byproduct of me optimizing my metabolism. To give you an example, right, and I like to use the engine analogy, right? Think of your body as a car. And if the engine's dirty, right, it doesn't matter how good the fuel is, right? It splutters, it wastes energy, and it breaks down, right? So, for example, sleep. You have a good night's sleep. It's basically like running on a treadmill overnight, lifting weights. I've got all this muscle on my body, and it's like a Ferrari engine. So it costs my body so much calories just to keep this muscle on my body. And muscle is known as the longevity organ. Physical strength, they do the grip test. That is the number one indicator to how long you live. So when you look at bodybuilders, right? Even if you look at bodybuilders, very interesting. Even the ones that took loads of steroids, right? They tend to have lower rates of cancer. And actually, there's some recent research out that shows the number one form of exercise, which is going to protect you against cancer, is actually strength training. Now, there's a lot more to it than that, and I'm going to break this down for you. But also, I like to use the analogy as well where your metabolism is like a thermostat, right? Your metabolism, your body's always trying to find homeostasis, right? The metabolism, it's not something that works on a clock, like a 24-hour clock. So when people say, I'm trying to eat 2,000 calories a day, great. With clients, I always look at what's going on over the week, because you need to adjust your calories and your energy intake based on stress coming in, sleep, and your metabolism is just going to be constantly adjusting. Can't get that word out. Metabolism is going to be constantly adjusting, just like a thermostat in your house, right? Look at it that way. It keeps the energy stable. And when it's broken, it's like your house is going from freezing cold to boiling hot every 20 minutes. And that's going to be a big problem. That's an indication something is off. So why does it matter, metabolic health? And why do I have these experts on to talk about this? Because metabolic health, if you look at all illnesses, the number one cause or the number one issue why people really suffer with chronic ailments is it's all linked to metabolic health in one way or another. For example, if I look at clients that come to me, right? They come to me initially where they want to get healthier, they want to improve their energy. A lot of them are high performers, right? And they need to live longer. They've got kids, a lot of them as well, right? So it's more than just looking good. But pretty much every single one of them wants to change the way their body looks. So when it comes to fat loss, for example, your body it's just your body basically burning stored energy. So when clients come to me, I look at, okay, you've been stuck, you want to lose fat, and you've either been gaining weight or you've stalled. How can we optimize your metabolism and essentially get your body burning more calories? What's the easiest way and most sustainable way that you can drop some of this visceral fat around your waist? Because again, when it comes to metabolic health, visceral fat around the organs is what, if you look at Alzheimer's, for example, right? That's known as type 3 diabetes. And there's loads of research on this as well. The more visceral fat you have, if it's over a certain amount, then you've got a way higher chance of things like dementia and Alzheimer's and those kind of things. So you want to look at how can I burn that stored energy, that adipose tissue, and how can I do that in a way where it doesn't feel like I have to do stuff like loads of excessive cardio, eating like a rabbit and taking away all my favorite foods, only to crash and damage my metabolic health even further by crashing and then gaining the fat back, for example, and being back at square one. So another reason why it matters, again, is muscle gain, right? When you build muscle, essentially that's just your body using protein efficiently. So longevity, obviously, that's just going to be you minimizing the risk of diabetes, heart disease, and dementia, and the things that I mentioned. And again, metabolic health, in other words, how much visceral fat you have around your organs. Are you overweight excessively? How much muscle do you have on your body? And then it comes down to how much movement you do on a daily basis, etc. But no matter how much movement you do, as the saying goes, you can't out-train a bad diet. You can't. So if you're eating poorly and you're consuming, in other words, if you've got a car, right, and you're basically filling it up with petrol and you just keep trying to fill it up as much as you can, and I know the pump doesn't let you because it's got a restriction thing on there, but if you just keep pressing that button and it allowed you to keep spraying that petrol in there, it's going to spill over, right? It's the same thing when you're eating excess foods. If you find yourself right now gaining fat, like some of my best clients, they couldn't figure out what was going wrong. And it came back down to the foundation, again, which I'm going to get into now, the holistic form of looking at things. You can call it holistic health or metabolic health. When you look at gut health, you look at hormones, you look at the amount of stress coming in, so the stress bucket. If that stress bucket overflows like it does with most people, because we only have one stress bucket, and if you've got a lot of work, you're working a lot of hours, you spend a lot of time looking at that screen on your phone, you're training, overtraining, very little room for error with training. That stress bucket's going to overflow, right? And then that's going to be a major problem, and that's going to take years off your life. And all of that those levers that I just mentioned, those health markers, should I say, is going to massively impact your body's ability to actually lose fat, to hammer that point home, and even to build muscle. And those two things within themselves is very simple. If you can drop visceral fat in particular and just excessive fat, and you can slowly build physical strength and muscle, and by the way, your metabolic health and your metabolism is going to be speeding up and becoming more optimal as you slowly get stronger. There's no way your metabolism can speed up and your metabolic health can improve. If you're getting stronger, what I'm trying to say is if you're getting physically stronger, black and white, week on week, month on month, then the likelihood is your metabolism and metabolic health is moving in the right way, because you can't get physically stronger consistently in the gym, for example, without actually having optimal protein, fueling your body properly, managing stress to a decent level, so you're not, that bathtub's not overflowing all the time, and obviously the main one, having good sleep. So these are the reasons why it matters: fat loss, muscle gain, longevity, like I just mentioned, and energy and performance. And this is something I want to hammer home. Blood sugar levels, stabilizing your blood sugar levels and not having erratic crashes with blood sugar. And hormones as well. Look at cortisol, for example, when it comes to metabolic health. Cortisol will block fat loss like nothing else. Look at the main stress hormones, right? Cortisol, adrenaline, which is also known as epinephrine, and you've got norepinephrine, right, which is also known as noradrenaline. Now, all these hormones, when they're elevated, especially cortisol, essentially this is going to block fat loss more than anything else. So even if that one hormone is elevated for prolonged periods, cortisol within itself, let alone the other stress hormones, and they work hand in hand, your body is not going to be dropping fat. Look at it this way. Your body cares about survival. To drop fat and to lose mass, body mass, weight on the scales, is essentially not a healthy thing to do, right? Because your body just wants to live. It wants to store fat, ideally. So unless you send the signal and you build that foundation with, fixing any gut issues you might have, optimizing hormone health, and essentially building that foundation with strength and exercise, your body simply will not respond. So on that as well, before we get into like some examples I want to give you now and break this down a bit further, I essentially, because obviously I like to do this metabolic assessment quite regular now because it's changing lives, this metabolic assessment that I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be, especially if you feel like this has resonated with you and your metabolism is breaking down and you're not losing fat and your results have stalled, even if it's building muscle, I've opened a few more spots this week, right, where I'm going to be giving a free metabolic assessment. So if you want to get some results fast and you want to optimize your metabolic health, just click the link beneath in the show notes. So here's a very simple client example. I'm not going to mention her name because she's very private, but it's someone that I started working with recently, around about 4 weeks ago. And she came to me. I'm going to give you an example now of the power of metabolic health when it comes to hormone health. Now, firstly, her menstrual cycle came back. In other words, it came at the right time. So she had a regular cycle for the first time in 4 years after 3 weeks of improving her metabolic health. So what did she do differently? Firstly, to be fair to her, she was already getting decent sleep considering she's got 2 young kids, one's 1 and one's 4. She was having suboptimal essential proteins, right, amino acids, and suboptimal fatty acids, number 1, and the balance was off. So the omega-6, so this is a big one, right? The omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, long story short, was way off. So hers was around about 3-1. She was having about 3 times. Actually, yeah, it was 3-1. Yeah. So she was having it was 2 in between. It was about 2 to 3-1 in terms of her omega ratio. I calculated. So she was having like 3 times the amount of omega 6s than she was having omega 3s. We balanced that out to a 1-1 ratio, which is optimal. So it's an equal balance of omega 3s to omega 6s. And what this does is this omega 3, you can't deny this in research, right? To reduce inflammation, number one. So we balanced out her fatty acids more and made sure she was getting more essential fats. And we also, number one, this is the most important one, is we got to have an optimal amount of protein. Now, it blows my mind how people don't realize that they're grossly under-eating protein. And just by getting her to hit a consistent protein target, so what she's been hitting works out around about 0.7 grams per pound. So in her case, I've set her a minimum target of 110 grams of protein, right? Now, it's okay because I haven't mentioned her name, right? So you're not going to know who she is. I was just panicking here, right? But she weighs 150 pounds and she's having 110 grams of protein, minimum. Now, I'm telling her to try and aim higher than that and obviously get it towards that 1 gram per pound, which is 150. But just by doing 110 grams, she was having double what she was having before. So this within itself has now got her to and complete protein sources as well, which obviously make a big difference. Not as big a difference as actually just hitting a protein target, right, and have an optimal amount. But when you get to that level, having complete protein sources from eggs, beef, even dairy, right, makes the world of difference. So she was doing that. And then also she started doing strength training. Now she was overtraining and doing F45 and she was very on or off. So it was high intensity, really intense base. It essentially is cardio with weights, right? People say F45, I'm doing some weights. It's cardio with weights. So it's mainly just cardio. You're not getting any of the benefits really you're getting from weights because it's just cardio. It's loads of reps. It's get tired, do circuits. You're not lifting with intent. You're not having adequate rest. You're not really building strength. So you're not getting the benefits. So that was her case. So they're the main things that we changed the way she's training. She's doing 4 25 to 30 minute strength sessions a week is all she's been doing. Right? It's taking her about 25 to 30 minutes. So full body 3 times per week, and then one session where it's just upper body and core. And all compound lifts in those full bodies, right? So in other words, a dumbbell row, an overhead dumbbell press, and 1 or 2 leg exercises like a dumbbell squat, dumbbell lunge, Romanian deadlift. So all those compound movements, so they're multi-joint movements, right? And she's already doing plenty of steps, to be fair to her. And also we've brought in essential supplements that she's been missing out on, nutrients like creatine, right? She had and this is crucial that you take creatine, right? This will improve your metabolic health because it's going to increase. Well, there's loads of things it does. It helps you retain muscle, etc. But it's also going to increase mitochondria. And when we talk about longevity and metabolism and getting your body in a state where it's actually, you got way more energy, mitochondria are the power plants within the cells that are the number one fuel, if you like, for the body. And creatine is going to increase that, right? But there's loads of other stuff creatine does as well. So they're the kind of things we've done in a nutshell. And as a result of that, I said to her at the start, what it's like, people want to lose weight. I said to her at the start, let your weight take care of itself. Your weight on the scales. I want to look at metabolic health. In other words, is your visceral fat dropping and the waist measurement, are they coming down, which they are significantly? Are you getting physically stronger? And then obviously we're paying attention then to her digestion, her energy levels, and her sleep. And all these things are moving in the right direction. And the feedback I'm getting from her as well is she's not getting the cravings anymore. So she feels like now she's not doesn't feel like eating those processed foods as much. She's losing that desire. But all that to say, her metabolic health is moving in the right direction because her body now is starting to convert what she's eating into energy, which can be burnt. Because now her metabolism is speeding up from lifting weights, so her body's automatically burning more calories because of the afterburn from doing weights, right? You lift weights, muscle protein synthesis takes place, which means the afterburn, your body burns way more calories afterwards. On top of that, she's having high protein. And on top of that, she's the number one thing, which is going to drastically improve metabolic health, is being in a calorie deficit, right? She's been losing weight, so her body's in a calorie deficit, but she feels like she's eating more because she's eating more nutrients and protein, for example. And she's burning the fat the smart way. Right? Because she's doing the same amount of steps, she's doing no cardio, but her body is burning more calories automatically by fixing nutrient deficiencies, creatine, fats, proteins, even certain micronutrients that were suboptimal, like magnesium, which we fixed through food, and also got to take in a supplement just to play it safe. And there's a few other things which I won't bore you with, but all these things have leveled up, right? So metabolic health and metabolism is burning more calories by itself, which therefore means if we keep this going, which we will, I've got faith in her, right? She's going to live longer as a byproduct because she's getting physically stronger and she's dropping visceral fat. The end. There's other stuff as well, but they're really important indications. Another example, right, long story short, is a client, Rob, in his 50s, he dropped 5 inches off his waist and reversed type 2 diabetes. He was a type 2 diabetic. Within 90 days, it was 10 weeks actually, he was out, he had his blood markers done 10 weeks after signing up, and he was no longer a type 2 diabetic. And he was out of that insulin resistant range as well, and he was pretty much out of the pre-diabetic range as well, which is crazy in that short amount of time. And again, he dropped visceral fat off his waist, and he basically got stronger. And just by losing fat, right? Just by losing fat and losing weight, as long as you're not losing muscle, he lost. In fact, he built a bit of muscle, which was crazy because he'd been lifting weights for decades. This guy had a lot of experience lifting weights, but you know, all of that improved. And obviously his hormones, his testosterone levels went up as well. His cortisol levels dropped, all these things we monitored, and that's it. He leveled up, right? So what I'm going to be breaking down in the next episodes is I'm actually going to be breaking down the other pillars now, right? There's 5 pillars, and I'm going to go deep. Today I wanted to kind of just summarize it in a way where it was simple and easy to digest. But I'm going to break down the 5 pillars. So we've got nutrition. I'm going to break down what I do, and I'm going to break down the science and some client examples, and just break it down in the way where you can digest it. Nutrition, we've got exercise, strength training, movement, and cardio, and which ones you utilize them to optimize your metabolic health and get results. Sleep, stress, which ties into hormones as well, right? And gut health, which also I'm going to touch on hormones as well, because stress relating to hormones and gut health relating to hormones, they work synergistically. And also even with sleep, right? Massive impact on sleep and hormones, right? So I'm going to dive into each pillar step by step, and you'll see exactly how you can upgrade your metabolism and basically stay lean all year round, get into the shape of your life, live longer, and basically feel way better, have more energy, be more productive, and better mental clarity, right? I don't want you just to listen to these episodes though and nod along, ideally, right? I want you to implement. So let's actually fix this, right? By booking in a free metabolic assessment this week, and I'll build you a game plan. It gives you a metabolic score, and it gives you the plan on what to do next to get the fastest results possible, long story short. So click the link in the show notes. And also, this is your last chance to come along to the client call, which is this Friday, 9 a.m. Sydney time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern time this Thursday, whatever date that is. I think it's the 29th, right? Friday the 29th, so Thursday the 28th. Click the link below in the show notes if you want to get clarity, you want to ask questions, you want to see what it's like in the OYB community, and jump on this call for free. I think you're a fool to miss out on this, to be honest. I'm giving away two slots for this, right? Had a few people fill the form out, but they didn't qualify. They didn't get back to my message. So I thought, okay, if you're not going to reply, you're not serious about this. So there's 2 seats available this Friday. So click the link below in the show notes and you can jump on. And also make sure you check out this next episode relating to the stuff I talked about. It'll go into more detail and it'll be actionable steps that you can use to improve your metabolism, speed it up, make it more efficient, and get way better results. All right. Speak very soon, legend.